This episode is brought to you by Radio Mastery. Radio Mastery helps radio professionals to dominate their market and reach number one. Apply today at radiomastery.com.au. And we are back with Peter Samios, radio consultant and coach, joining us live. How are you, Peter?
Well, I love the new technology you've got. This is really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Very profesh.
Well, welcome back. And for today's episode, it's going to be a bit different. We're not chatting about surveys or anything like that. We are going to be building or improving on stations around the country.
Yeah, this is a fun challenge. You could drop me in any market, and I reckon I'd have my 2 cents on it for sure.
Awesome. So let's get right into it. So the ground rules, we're going to be starting off with regional, picking a station anywhere across the country and seeing what we could improve on it. So where would you want to start?
Exactly where I was starting at in Dubbo. I think that would be a fun one.
Absolutely. So let's start. Say you've stepped into the office on day one and you were given an unlimited budget around 2 million. I haven't run a station. What do you think?
In a market like Dubbo, if I was given now let's really go up against the grain. If I was put back in there, you've got the 2 against 1. So you got the 2 super network stations up against the SEA. I'd take SEA. Put me back there and let's smash it out the park.
Absolutely. And so what would you start? Music format, branding, localism, and Brekkie show or announcers? What would you do?
Context, I was there when they were part of the Hit Network at SCA Dubbo. I wasn't there for the rebrand to Triple M, but I would love to rebrand the Triple M. So it's still Triple M. It's still the music that Triple M's famous for. You are limited with your music format being part of a network, but the one thing that I've always prided myself on was localism. Now, a lot of those regional markets, for SCA especially, they might only be able to afford one. Maybe if it's Triple M station, there are some regional Triple M's that have 2 announcers working in that market. If you are a market that only has 2 announcers, you can be live and local across the day, in breakfast and across the day. I don't care if it's the Super Network, if it's Ace, whoever it is. First thing I'd do, you put a solo brekkie show, make it 6 till 10. Don't be afraid to play 2 tracks in a row. For me, if I was to be redoing Triple M Dubbo, I'd put Allo Baker in breakfast. That guy is an institution in Dubbo. He was there when it was hit, and he was there when it became Triple M. I would be drumming up that Baker is back and literally use that tagline, Baker's back. And you put him there, you put him 6 till 10, 2 songs, talk break, extended interviews, hyper local at breakfast, get in and amongst it. And then across the work days, there was an announcer who I worked with on the street team when I was at ARN. He was one of the old Big Brother contestants, Joel Scousey, a phenomenal talent. That bloke was there for about a third of the time that I was in Dubbo, but he knew 50 times as many people as what I knew in Dubbo. He was such a people person, such a connector. I think people couldn't care what music he played on the radio. Just to hear their friend on the radio, they loved it. He would walk into the shop. I remember I went with him down Macquarie Street, Dubbo, and we walked into a random cafe. Everyone behind the counter said, "Hey, Joel, Joel, Joel." And then the chef out the back comes out, "Jolie, what do you want?" I'm like, "Mate, you've been here for about, 3 months?" He's like, "Yeah, they all know me. What can I say?" I'm like, "Jeez." And he was only doing 9 till noon or 9 till 1 at the time on the station. Now, that connection with the local market is something you can't train. If you're going to move regionally, you're going to move regionally. So you need talent that are just so embedded into that community. The reason I go with Baker at breakfast is Allo Baker. He's proven before. I think at the moment he is still at Hot Tomato with Brekkie. I think he's the anchor there, or maybe he's might have departed. I'm not sure if he's still there. But either way, I would definitely have him at breakfast. And the advantage there by then having Joel run 10 till 3, or being part of Triple M, if it has to be 10 till 2, you put Lou and Jarch, you've still got that local connection. Now, the power of radio, theatre of the mind, you can voice track, you can, do what you need technology-wise so that you don't exhaust yourselves because you think, my God, how do you do 6 till 10, 10 till 2 or 10 till 3, whatever. There's always ways around it. I'd put a music feature 12 to 1 where minimal, if any, talk breaks. And the most biggest thing I would do if a Triple M Dubbo is bring back those Triple M Rocks stickers. Why on earth is the word rock banned at SCA? Can somebody tell me that? I don't know why. Triple M will always rock. It doesn't mean you have to play wall to wall ACDC and Barnsey. But just those bumper stickers, what an institution. Triple M rocks Dubbo, Triple M rocks Wellington. Get amongst it, get the sporting communities, rocks the Spurs or something, whatever the team is. Get around it because that really drives community connection. If you are in a regional market, community connection is a big thing. As a station, as a programmer, as a personality, your socials as well. Social media costs nothing. So if you're out and about, why the hell aren't you taking a photo saying you're out and about and sharing that on your station's page to show that you're live and local? And it could be on the weekend, it could be whenever. So I definitely do that. Budget wise, you wouldn't need that much. We're literally talking about just two people, two personalities.
Definitely.
I think you could easily do that for what, 200K or less.
Yeah.
So, that's all you'd need there. Content director. Look, now here's the other thing. Talking about a regional market, you do need a live and local content director. Not only do they play the part of someone to give guidance and direction because the talent is too busy in the trenches, you need someone there who can also double up as a fill-in or double up as a panel op when you have OBs. Because here's the dilemma. You've got these markets where there might only be one person, and when it comes to an OB, they're the talent. But who's paneling back there? Oh, we've got the promo person who's a panel op. Like, hang on. It's not that much to get another person there.
Yeah.
And you don't need to pay provincial or metro content director salaries. Just someone who just wants to cut their teeth in it, and someone, again, who can be just as hyper local as the Brekkie and Workday team. So that's what I do in Dubbo. And notice one thing I've said, I have not touched on the brand. I have not touched on the music. If you cannot play with those elements of your market, you need to really elevate every other element of your station. On ground, online, on air. What can you play with? Play with them. Don't take what the network says is off the shelf. See, we did that when we were in Dubbo. They'd have the logs ready. They'd have it all done. Here it is. Here it is. Great. I then made local IDs, and I'd put some local IDs in amongst it. So if we go back to an old school anthem, I'd say this was made famous back when Blockbuster was there on Bolt Street or whatever it is. Like that. Put that in there, for goodness sake. So yeah, that's what I do with Dubbo.
Interesting. And sorry, I was meant to butt in earlier, but Aloe Baker, I've just seen on LinkedIn, he's the Triple M National Workday presenter for the Triple M Regional Network.
That's right. I do remember now. You did go back to SCA. He's a superstar, and see, the thing with Aloe Baker and Joel Scousey, you need talent like that where they are very self-sufficient. Aloe, I know, and Joel as well, both in their own rights, did have co-hosting shows in the past. Did phenomenally well there. But on their own, they really do hold themselves up on their own as well. So that's what the strength is. You don't just want to put a music jock and say, hey, you're a Brekkie announcer. How's your extended interviews? How's your skills with guests? You need someone who's got that experience. And, those two, they would complement well. They'll bounce off each other well. I think they'd be great chemistry, and they would fit the Triple M brand well as well.
And one last thing for the Dubbo market, say you have $50,000 to relaunch the station for marketing. Would you do billboards, street team? What would you do?
Question. In a market like Dubbo, I would do a bit online. When I mean online, because you do want to invest in having a presence and a strong presence there, but you wouldn't need to go crazy because it's a smaller market. But where I would invest more is actually in on-ground activations. I don't think Dubbo it's too small for you to see a billboard each day saying Triple M rocks, Baker's back. You don't need that. We never had billboards. We did have TV commercials, but that was because we had the joint ownership with Nine. and that was good just for having a presence. It was good for the watch, listen, and win comps. If you want that, we could throw up a code word. There was no charge. Listen back into Brecky. That was cool. So having a bit of TV, yeah. But I find to really win the market, you have to be on the floor, on the ground. So I would definitely, when I'm in activations, I'd be doing crosses in like 2 crosses at breakfast, 3 or 4 crosses on work days, OBs on the weekends, getting amongst the sporting communities, supporting sporting teams. And also, one thing Adrian Bryan said is that if you want to have the biggest station in town, you need to be all over the biggest events in town. So sponsoring things like, I know they've got the Dubbo Derby, they've got, or Derby Day, they've got the Dubbo Show. Get your name on the biggest things. Like when New Year's Eve, who's the soundtrack to New Year's Eve? Well, it's Kiss, the biggest station with the biggest events. So definitely I'd be throwing a lot of money into sponsorships and on-ground activations just to get the word out there to the people.
And moving now up to what commercial radio and audio classifies as major regional, Canberra, Newcastle, and the Gold Coast. Which one would you pick, and what station would you work on?
It's a tough one because you could throw me in Canberra or Newcastle. You know what? I was gonna say Canberra. I was gonna say 2CA, but let's go to Newcastle. Put me at New FM Newcastle. I'd love this. And I know a few people there, so please don't take offense. But put me at New FM Newcastle. I'll fix it in a heartbeat.
So what would you start with?
First thing is I would separate New FM's logs from the rest of the Super FM network. I'd have New FM and B Rock take the same rock log. I would return to Newcastle's best rock. I'd go back to that logo, which I think I sent to you the other week. It's rare to find that on the internet. I think you have to go to archive.org and look at the old New FM website to even retrieve it. It wasn't there for long.
Correct.
But it was a rocking logo. I'd go back to that. I'd have Newcastle's best rock. I would let the music do the talking. I think a market like Newcastle, two things. If a station like SCA can't afford the talent, well then there's no hope that you could throw all the money at New FM. I don't think they can afford the talent either. So let's not go hard on spending on talent. Instead, let's go on the sound of the station, the quality of the product, and affording for it to stand on its own. Still keeping part of the super network, using part of their facilities that they've got, the resources and everything like that. But in terms of New FM, change the logo, return to rock, and in terms of programming, you could actually save some money as well, because at the moment they've got a duo at Brecky, a duo at Drive. I'd have solo announcers throughout. Again, similar to that Dubbo model, you'd put, who would you put at Brecky? I would actually, for the sake of Brecky, I would throw some money at someone. For some reason, the name Rob Duckworth comes to mind. But it could work. You put Rob Duckworth at breakfast on New FM, Newcastle's best rock. Play a bit of classic rock. He's very knowledgeable. Play a bit of new rock. He knows the music. He's great with talent. He'd connect well. I'd really go with that there. I think for work days, tough one. I can't think of a name for work days, but I would definitely find someone who really connects to the Newcastle market for work days. And then for Drive, again, solo announcer, hyper local. Nights, I wouldn't do not take the network feed at nights, just run automated music at night. It's not worth it. But as long as they keep their own log, the secret to New FM for their success is their own music log, because that will separate them and give them the flexibility to pivot in the blink of an eye. If they need to tweak, let's do more testing for this type of music, great, let's ramp that up, let's scale that back. They will wedge so neatly between Hit 106.9 and Triple M Newcastle. See, they'll make Triple M Newcastle sound way too feminine. I remember there was a rumor actually where New FM were going to, what was it? No, that's right. The rumor was that they were going to rebrand KOFM to Triple M. Correct. This was years before the SCA, the national rollout of the Triple M brand. We're talking even probably decades ago. I might be wrong on that. but it was quite some time ago. Now, the rumor goes that Triple M was coming to Newcastle. What did New FM do? Literally overnight, they reverted back to rock
Ooh.
and they blocked Triple M from coming to Newcastle. So Triple M Newcastle sees rock as a threat if they don't own it. Well, Good Times Greatest Hits, it's not really saying rock. And to me, Newcastle is a rock town. It's a town built on rock. You'd have Screaming Jets. I'd have Screaming Jets launch the station. They relaunch the station, have them on the launch day. You got Silverchair, for goodness sake. It really is built on rock. And I think that if you can't be the young chick station at Hit, you can't be the good times station for everyone at Triple M. You can be the station for the men. And that's where I see New FM being. New FM is Newcastle. Newcastle is rock.
And jumping over to the other side of the office quickly, where we have 2HD, I just want to know, what would you do with that station if you had 3 months to fix it?
Of classic hits, just a jukebox. Put your announcer, have music announcers there who know a lot about it. Maybe play 3 songs in a row, take some calls. It sounds weird, but that Vega format was actually not too bad. I think that could work in some markets in the country where you have some intellectual talk, you have feedback from the listeners, in other words, the open line, but you really are a classic hit station. It's the hybrid of your home of good times, great music, great conversations. And I would do that on 2HD. I would still take Chris Smith 9 till noon, still take the network commitments that you have to. But, and this is probably more thinking towards the whole super network. I wouldn't take as much talk back on 2HD. You can see that in the results. I think was it 2RPH, whatever the station there. They're carving out quite a niche there because they're playing a lot more music. And I think the older listeners want that. If I had the choice between listening to my favorite Neil Diamond hit or listening to Warren talk for 25 minutes, I'd rather, play Neil Diamond and then play ABBA.
Yeah.
And then, play Phil Collins or something. That's what I think that 2HD should do. Plus, a lot of those regional FMs, regional AM talk stations do have FM translators as well. So, you could easily pick up and hear good quality music as well. So it wouldn't sound too bad. But definitely I'd be going for that. I was going to say 55 plus market with 2HD.
Well, I hope whoever's steering the ship nowadays at SRN Newcastle is listening to this. I really like that.
And the hot tip is if you are thinking, but what are we going to do with the network feed? Well, you've got 2SM Sydney. They might have a studio free. Maybe you can program the regional FM feed out of Sydney and let Newcastle stand alone. But look, if this is the hard part, it's all a numbers game. And if the station's proving to be quite profitable, then profits over programming. That's just the way businesses work these days.
Definitely. Okay, now let's move on. Unless you want to touch on somewhere else, let's move on to arguably the smallest capital city out of the 5 that are measured in 8 times a year. So Adelaide. What would you do in Adelaide?
Oh, Adelaide is going to hunt me down and kill me because there only seems to be about the same 10 or 15 talent that just do the circle every year.
you got Beck Morse. What is it? Soda. You got it.
Yeah. Oh, next year we'll have Haley on this station, and Soda's going there, and Burjo's going to pop up there, or it's just the same. Sean Craig Murphy, bring him out as well. Like they're all just going to go in loop. I think we mentioned this in the previous episode, but it's really just Triple M Adelaide that's just staying put and not sharing and not doing anything weird. So, with Adelaide, okay, let's see. I think SAFM, they're the ones that need help. Because we've commented about Kiss Adelaide, what we do there. The problem with Kiss Adelaide, you've got a young brekkie show, older music format. But the real challenge in Adelaide is you've got the heritage brand SAFM. And the best thing that SCA did is brought it back to SAFM. Extremely unfortunate that they made it hit 107. It was good at the time, but talk about destroying a heritage brand. So great to see SAFM back. SAFM is SA, is Adelaide's SA. Hyper local. I'd be driving all the on-ground activations as you can. You've got that KISS eye that I know that they do, or the KISS wheel, I think they call it in Adelaide, where they sponsor that massive Ferris wheel. I'd be getting SAFM over things like that. What massive events, the Adelaide Fringe, anything like that, what can we get a hold of that is truly, purely Adelaide? Because that's what SAFM is. In terms of its music, SAFM needs to do exactly what Today FM is doing right now, but slightly newer as well. Don't be afraid to play a fresh hit. You know, don't wait till the track is about 3 months old and then give it a spin on SAFM. So brand new hits, but also have that diversity to go right back, you know, throw in a few mid-90s tracks, maybe once an hour or something like that. But have a bit of today's best variety type format on SAFM. But don't say that. You're not a variety station. You're a CHR station at heart. Leave the variety, make KISS sound very old and daggy, but you can really own that younger market there without going too much towards the Triple J market. So I'd wedge it there. I wouldn't go as young as what, you know, it would hopefully force Nova Adelaide to go a bit younger. That's what I'm thinking there. In terms of brekkie talent, whew, you got a tough one there. See, Adelaide, you've only got the same people to choose from.
You got Haley and Max, or Max and Ali, and
yeah, brekkie's a tough one. Where I always looked for my talent when I was in Dubbo, I actually kept ringing Fresh Adelaide, Fresh 92.7. They do a phenomenal job at breeding new young talents. Just want to put it out there. Great talent coming from that station. So, you know, not afraid to have a look who's performing well there. Maybe they could do a Saturday morning shift. Maybe someone's good enough for work days. But in terms of brekkie, you probably would have to, hate to say it, go from somewhere in that same pool of people for Adelaide. I'd definitely go with a duo. I don't know if a trio is what you need for an FM breakfast show. But yeah, definitely go with just a high energy duo at brekkie. Own the pop culture of Adelaide. You know, so if there's breaking pop news, entertainment news, you'll hear it on Adelaide. Just really go through that CHR format, but don't be so limited that you've only got 40 high rotation tracks. You know, broaden it out there a bit. But I definitely think that could work with Adelaide, but they just really need to spend a lot on marketing and stay very committed to their product, to say that we are local, we play the current hits that you want us to play, be completely interactive, be a bit risky, be a bit daring. You know, don't be so enclosed in your studios, and just hit the market. Get out there. You know, I always like the Ben and Liam example where they do an OB from a billboard. Like, those sort of stunts is what every breakfast show metropolitan should be doing at least once a month. What big thing are you doing in breakfast to make new passers-by in the public that don't even know that your radio station exists? You know, a 5AA listeners driving down the freeway and they go, oh, there's that SAFM big billboard saying that they play that music, and there's their brekkie show doing a silly stunt. Like, you know, bring back good old FM radio brekkie stunts. That's what I'd be doing to make some noise in Adelaide.
And comparing what you were just saying, I really loved at the start of the year how Robin, Kip and Corey up in Brisbane, they got up on that crane with the CEO of ARN and grilled him.
Oh, look, the Robin, Kip and Corey, their comeback on paper, phenomenal. But I think, and a few other podcasts, I think Game Changers actually mentioned this very well, so I'll give them credit for this idea. But I think they really should have gone a lot harder on, hey, we are back, we are here, we're here. I think it was Wade. It was actually good old Wade mentioned it. Yeah, we are here. You wanted us here, so we're back. And because we're back, we are built for Brisbane. We are Brisbane's breakfast show on Brisbane's radio station. We're rebelling against the rest of the country. You know, I love how Triple M Brisbane, on their Facebook profile pic, it says Triple M 104.5, proudly Brisbane. You know, something like that. Don't obviously copy them, but just show that you know, a station like KISS 97.3 is, they've survived, they've come out the other end. And it's all been for the better. Could you imagine had they put that holding show there for Kyle and Jackie O, and now there's a holding show and there's no Kyle and Jackie O? What would ARN have done today? So very well done to the guys at ARN for going back on that. But I just had to put my 2 cents in for that market.
And speaking of Robin Kipp and Corey, let's move on to the Brisbane market. So what would you do in Brisbane, and what do you think the main problem is in the Brisbane market currently?
Brisbane, the main problem that nobody's really talking about, everyone's talking about B105. Yeah, B105 will always be killing it. And Triple M Brisbane, always killing it. Nova, always killing it. KISS, always killing it. How do you solve a competitor like 4BH? You know, you've got 4BH running on the lowest expenses, probably of all the stations, and they are smashing you in the ratings. And yes, I'm looking at you, 4BC. You've got the oldies that are just thinking, how, you know, I just want my great music. Thank you, Mr. ARN, for killing off my favorite radio station. Or sorry, it wasn't really ARN, it was SEN that did the killing. And yeah, by default, where did the listeners go? They went to Barbecue Bob at 4BH. So if you were to put me in Brisbane, and actually I have been doing some listening to 4BC lately, I must say, credit to them, they are really going hard on the localism. Even if you listen to 4BC afternoons, where they take the 2GB show with Michael McLaren, there's local breaks. You know, I know that Duncan Campbell's spoken publicly about the importance of having localized breaks. So well done to them on that. They do cross to the Money News, to James Willis in their show, you know, to really show that it is an integrated, those network shows are integrated into the 4BC fabric, which I think is a brilliant move. The problem though, and the opportunity though for 4BC, now I think they've actually made a good move with breakfast. I think they've definitely got the right people or the right person in Brekkie. They need to just focus more on the content and the angles that they're delivering that content in. You do want to ruffle feathers. You do want to hold the politicians to account. The advantage of 4BC is they should be doing like Sydney. There is no reason why 4BC can't be pulling the numbers that 2GB are bringing, because it's just 4BC and ABC. That's it. You know, and there's no reason why you can't even put that in a marketing campaign. Choose 4BC over ABC. I would really just go after that market of being the home of talk in Brisbane, where Brisbane comes to talk. You want to have your say. You do not go to any other station in Brisbane. You want to have your say in anything. This is the original form of social media. Pick up the phone, get involved with 4BC. We are the people's station. And I'd be going with that. The other thing I would do is get rid of Michael McLaren. I love the bloke. Stay in Sydney, Michael. You have to be local. You really have to be local. Doesn't have to be local at nights. Don't mind that. But just really be local. I'd reinstate even the local sports today, because there's a lot of local sports that 4BC could be covering. I'd go local at weekend mornings at least. Just really try and get as local as you can. But they are doing quite well at the moment. But just really, really trigger people a lot more. I'd amplify that trigonometry, if that's even a word. Just really try and make the news. The same way that you see on 9 News of an evening, and they're saying the politicians, I heard Ben Fordham on 4BC, on 2GB say blah, blah, blah. They should be saying that. I heard Jason Matthews on 4BC, blah, 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 blah. Say that in question time. Get heard in politics. You know, that's what they need. Ask the hard questions. So they're on the right path. Just go harder.
Absolutely. And I totally missed my favorite, Perth. What would you do about a station like 6IX, for example?
Oh, you picked it. Easy. Okay, put Clarsey breakfast. That's it. He can voice track. I don't care. Just put Clarsey at breakfast. Whatever it takes. Clarsey, more music breakfast show, 6IX. Change that logo. Give that logo back to gold. But yeah, I would really just go with that. You've got Clarsey for breakfast. You've got Burjo for weekends. Hello, that is pretty cool. You know, for a 6IX is actually, it's a really cool sounding station. They've just got to spend some money on marketing, or, you know, I don't know what it is. I think one thing that was interesting was they were doing such a big giveaway for movie tickets. This is a Perth station doing a movie ticket giveaway. Like, hang on, you should be giving away a trip of a lifetime to see your favorite artist in Vegas or something like that. That's what it should be doing, not cinema tickets. You can do that on your street team can give those out. But yeah, 6IX definitely put Clarsey at breakfast. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be live. If he wants to record the first hour, first 2 hours, whatever it is, but that would really that would make people at Gold 96 think twice about who am I going to wake up with. Might even win some mixed 94.5 listeners over as well. So yeah, definitely go with that for 6IX.
And I'm just looking at their website now. Is it just me, or have they got two Maccas in the Perth market? They got Macca for the drive home on 6IX, and they also got Macca now doing work days at 96 FM.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Talk about brand confusion.
exactly. But I mean, I'm looking at the lineup now. They got Tim Lawton doing mornings, Clarsey doing 1 hour, and then you got Rob Duckworth doing 1 to 4. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally agree with you saying that Dean Clarsey, a big name in Perth radio, should be doing a longer shift and a more high profile shift.
And don't bring anyone from the eastern states ever, ever. If you're a programmer listening to this, stop networking shows to the west. Unless it's your Carrie and Tommy and Fitzy Whipper and Kate, or our mates Will and Woody. If it's anyone, or even Jonesy and Amanda, keep them as well. But don't go networking, like Craig Huggins. You can't do that. You've got to keep Perth local and separate. The listeners know. They're looking, going, who's Rob Duckworth? Whereas Triple M Sydney would be like, Red Duck, yeah, we love him. So yeah, I wouldn't do that to Perth.
Do you think the exception for that is a nighttime show? Like, I'm looking at the website now. You got Forever Classic Nights with Aaron Chilcott. Do you think that is an exception?
Yeah, Aaron's a great friend of mine. I think on a station like 6IX, just putting my programming hat on for a moment, I would just have a jukebox night. Doesn't matter where it's coming from. Every night, where every night's a golden oldies party, and we do requests. There's a national hotline. You ring up, give us a shout out. Where you're listening from? Shout out to all the nursing homes, all the hospitals, all the truckies, and just really, who did a really good job at that was Pete Graham. He used to do Saturday Night Live on 2UE, and it was phenomenal. It was very, very good, very well put together. I felt, and I'm not taking the piss here, but I felt like I was at an RSL club, and I was just waiting for him to say, ring up, we're doing the meat raffle next. But his music knowledge was phenomenal. His callers were so quick. They weren't talking politics. It was lighthearted fun at night. He really did a great job at that. I think the only announcer that I'd say would come close to delivering a similar show to that would be Dave Sutherland, who works for the Super Network. If Dave Sutherland was to do a music shift, he could do something similar to what Pete Graham did on 2UE. But that's the kind of show I would put at nights on a station like 6IX. And again, like I said, you could roll it out across that network.
And now over to the two biggest markets in Australian commercial radio, Sydney and Melbourne. What would you do with a problem like KISS 1011 and potentially KISS 1065 with their new show?
I got shut down in one of my other chat groups about this, but I think Ben and Liam network them from KISS Adelaide to KISS Melbourne. Has anyone thought of that? It's AFL territory. It's not too dissimilar in terms of demographics. I think that if you want to save a quid, you network those stations as opposed to Sydney and Melbourne, if that's what they want to do. But I would have done that anyway as a holding ground, as opposed to Mikey, who's really got a connection to the Sydney audience, not so much the Melbourne audience. The problem with KISS Melbourne is the damage has been done. People forget Mix 101.1 was a flogging. Ever since Double T left, everyone's been saying in Melbourne, it's just 101.1 is what? Who? What? They did try, they did start gaining ground. They had Bridge and Limo, they had Chrissy and you, was it Chrissy and you? No, it was Chrissy and Jane. That's right. On Mix.
That's right. Yeah,
yes. Yeah. So they were starting to carve a niche there, and you could be that all chick station if you wanted to at KISS Melbourne. But as all other podcasts have said you never want to be that third CHR. So Kiss is that third CHR. One thing that I would do, not just to Kiss in Melbourne, but I'd even do it to the entire Kiss network. Kiss is Kyle. Blow up Kiss, bring back Mix. That's what I would do. Mix is music. It's a variety of music. And by doing that, by going a bit older than your SAFMs, a bit older than the Fox, a bit older than Today FM, it's a bit hard now because Today FM is actually doing quite a good job at owning that niche. But that's the sound I would give Mix in Melbourne. I'd have Mix 101.1 come back, Melbourne's best mix, emphasize the word mix, mix, mix. It's a bit hard in other markets like Adelaide where you've just launched Kiss and everything like that. I know, I get it. But let's just say this is all hypothetical. I think I'd go back to that. I know everyone loves Double T FM. I just don't think Double T is as, it's you want music to be the hero in Melbourne on Mix. Talent is a hard one. If you can get the talent, you'd be looking at a Jules Lund, put him with a co-host at Brekkie. I would most definitely do that. In fact, I think Jules is tipped to be the Brekkie announcer on Kiss 101.1. I'll put that on record. Don't know who he'll be paired up with, but you definitely would look at a Jules, put him there because he's got that Melbourne connection. And yeah, just really let that older female music format with a few current hits pop in the mix and just go there. You'd still obviously have to take the network shows. But this is the other thing. When you do take those network shows, don't take the network logs. Everyone always complains how Kiss 97.3 is great until 3 p.m. comes. And then it turns into a pop station again. Yeah. So if you're going to be all the hits, all the variety, whatever you want to call it, just really own that and do that consistently and only pick your own music. Yes, that unfortunately means we don't take Smallzy. So I would be doing that for Kiss as well. Even bring back the 3 p.m. pickup. Maybe make it a bit more hip, but bring that back to show we are the cool mum station.
And would you put someone like Kate Langbroek on the 3 p.m. pickup again?
Oh, she'd be right up my alley with that, definitely. If I don't know if Bianca Dye's got the connection to Melbourne, I don't think she does, but if you could get someone like a Bianca Dye or a Kate Langbroek, most definitely. I think they would, it was interesting hearing, I think Liam Renton said, put Matt and Joe back at Brekkie. I think definitely Joe. I don't know what Matt's doing these days, but that would actually not be a bad idea. I think a credit to Liam for that suggestion. Because you could most definitely, yeah.
Sorry, didn't Matt do Nova for a few months back in,
he did Kiss.
Yep.
He was there when Kiss launched. Matt and Jane Riley. That's right. They got rid of Chrissy and they had those two together. Or Matt and Michelle, I think it was, after a while. But look, he'd be great because he's an icon in Melbourne. Bring him back. It's just I don't know if he's still got that connection to the market. He's been gone for quite a while. That's why I'm leaning more towards a Jules Lund over him. But look, he'd definitely be an option as well.
And now over to Sydney. What would you do with a problem that is Kiss 1065? As you said about Melbourne, it's built around Kyle and Jackie, and we've seen that. As what happened with Today FM when Kyle and Jackie left, the numbers absolutely went down to the floor. And that's what's possibly happening with Kiss 1065. Now, I know that there's been rumours about Dr. Chris Brown and Amy Gerard, and the newsreader is confirmed as producer Nat. But what would you do with a station like that? And are there any other stations, like Today FM, for example, that you would change in Sydney?
If I was Kiss, I still don't think the Chris Spade thing is dead and buried. I would not be surprised if there's some sort of a wait till it expires and he'll pop up somewhere. That man is the only man that will fix Kiss, if you want to keep it like that. The alternative is, I don't know who's going to rush to it first, but Mikey's doing his darndest with the tools he's got. Emma's doing the darndest with the tools she's got. Nat Penfold's just been put to the newsroom for when they relaunch the Brekkie show. You've got these three amazing talents
that have all worked together in the past. Yeah,
exactly. Somebody needs to reunite Mikey, Emma, put Nat as the producer, and reunite the family. Now, whether they pop up on, I'll talk about them collectively, whether they pop up on Kiss Sydney Breakfast or Today FM Breakfast, it's definitely an opportunity that I would be seriously considering if I was a Sydney programmer today, because you've got key talent. I don't know, but it's not as much of a public fallout as Kyle and Jackie O, clearly. So, there could be. I did see, Mikey commented on his page that he does talk to Emma. So there might not be bad blood. It could have just been a programming decision where they needed Emma, but they unfortunately didn't need Mikey at the time. But, given the situation now that both of them are in, where they're, Today FM's not really, taking full advantage of the KISS refugees, and Mikey's there with rotating co-hosts, just put the two together. So I'd have Mikey and Emma putting that as a producer, whether it be on Today FM. I would actually prefer to see them on Today FM because I think they're a more mature sounding Mikey and Emma. They don't have to be talking potty mouth, being the Kyle and Jackie O replacements. They could be a grown up version of it, about cheeky parents wanting to have young fun these days. That's something they see the parenthood through Emma, but they see the young single life that they miss through Mikey. And you combine that with a slightly older music format like Today FM, and I've said this on one of my videos in the past, the Today FM music format is so spot on right now. They are owning what they've always owned. It's today's music. And when I mean today's music, it's not just current hits, it's all the hits you know and love. So keep the music the same. Mikey and Emma on Today FM Breakfast. At KISS, do your darndest to get Chris Fade, because that would be a huge, huge point of difference. When I say Chris Fade, if you can't get Chris Fade, you need someone to do that Breakfast with the Stars type of show. And if you do get a single talent, I know everyone was saying Smallsy. I don't know. I think Smallsy at Drive would be a much better option. But I think a Brecky talent that you just wake up and you're going to wake up and hear Kim Kardashian being interviewed by an announcer on KISS Sydney Breakfast. I think that's what they need to do. They need to be the pop culture station, to hang on to any chance of hanging on to the audience that they've got from Kyle. And they have to sound different to Kyle. You don't want to replace KISS Sydney Breakfast with Kyle 2.0. Kind of like, I loved hearing what an insight into what Craig Bruce went through when he had to quickly put together the Today FM Brecky team when KJ left. You don't want to do that mistake at KISS. You don't want to rush and go, oh, let's just put together who's the big names, TV personalities, and throw them on KISS Sydney Breakfast. That Zoo Brecky thing will not work. You've got to actually think who's available in the market or who's available with experience, and what are we going to be famous for?
And now, moving on to national, we've got a few networks to choose from: ARN, SCA, ACE, SRN, and Capital. Which network would you choose to be the group content director or group programming director of?
Network. I'd have some fun there. Yeah, definitely. I'd choose that one. And look, the answer, it doesn't really matter which network. If I was the group PD of any network that had regional stations, I'd be using the ARN approach in terms of formats and everything. You can keep the local station names. You don't need to rebrand. You can have them sit under the umbrella. So we have our CHR network, our hit music network, if you want to call it that. So, the super network can do that. There are some stations, I know Triple Z FM, they play a lot more CHR music as opposed to, maybe 2RE, they play older music. They do still play music. So you've got your CHR network. At the moment, this is the thing. You've always got these networks that really just have a station for the young, a station for the old, a station for the girls, a station for the boys. Why don't we have multiple streams, multiple networks? We have a station for the young with the Hit Music Network. We have a station for the in-betweens, a variety network. And we have the Classic Hits Network. Then we have the Talk Network. Now, they're the 4 station formats I would have at Super Radio Network. Because then what you can do is, if I was a program director of any one of those regional stations, I would be able to choose, okay, given our market, what can we go for? So use Dubbo, for example. Dubbo really shouldn't, Zoo FM should not really be doing that new FM log, because they don't need to compete with a Triple M Dubbo. Zoo FM needs to deliver a product that serves for the younger audience, a CHR format. So I'd have hit music playing in that market. But then you've got 2DU, and you sort of think, okay, well, that's older. let's do a classic hits format, but we'll still take a bit of the talk format. But then you've got markets like TMFM. Now, Jared Brook, JB's doing a phenomenal, absolutely amazing job in Tamworth. The challenge he's facing is he's made TMFM into more of a what Triple M Local Works used to be like. Now, the dilemma there is that when they go into network airtime, they're taking the older Super AM Talkback network feed. So it's a bit of an inconsistent product. If they had a variety format, great. TMFM would firstly put their hand up and say, we'll take the variety format. FM 92.9, they can take the CHR format. So pick and choose from 4 different varieties. You've got 2RE, they play more music. Great, take the classic hits, don't do any talk. Then you've got 2SM. Okay, we are just going to do talk. Then you've got Newcastle. Do you want to do just talk? Do you want to do classic hits? Do you want to tap in, tap out? Now, by having these 4 streams, here's where you're going for the killer. These 4 streams would be housed from Sydney. And these 4 streams would be available on digital radio in Sydney. So then, yes, I'm saying on 2SM that have a digital station that plays the CHR format. It would just be the music without the announcers. That have the variety format. Yeah, exactly. Like Zoo Super Digi. Exactly. Zoo Super Digi, you could share that log with the regionals. Fun classic hits or fun Super Digi. There's your classic hits stream. And if you want to tap in and tap out of the talk network, you've got whatever goes to air on 2SM. So you've essentially got that there. You know, that's exactly what I would be doing there. And if you are running the CHR stream, I'd have Gorilla Nights on the Saturday night, like what they do with Nova Nation, like what they do with Kiss Dance. And you'd be pushing them back. Hey, if you like what you hear on Gorilla Nights across the Super FM network, listen to Gorilla Radio on your app or online 24/7. Or if you're in Sydney on DAB. So they've already got elements of it. But the thing in a nutshell, and like I said, ARN do this really, really well, where they don't just have the oldies and the youngs. They've got the classic log. They've got a variety log. There are some markets that are just taking their own logs. So, I think they do it really well at ARN. There's still opportunity there with some of those stations. But yeah, just how hard is it? If you're doing 2 music logs, one for the oldies, one for the youngies, can we make it 3 music logs? Because that would really help some markets that are overlapping, because Zoo FM is overlapping quite a bit with the Triple M Dubbo. So, if you want to stand apart and own the market, then that's a good option for them.
And with the Super Radio Network, I know recently, correct me if I'm wrong, that they've been, instead of talk at night, it's been music at night, correct?
Yeah. So again, that's where I would give that freedom. If they want to have the talk, great, take the talk. But if you want the music at night, you choose as a local content director when you switch onto the network feed at night. Are you switching onto the 2SM feed, or are you going to take the fun Super Digi feed? Do you want classic hits overnight, or do you want talkback overnight? Let the markets decide. And you know what? Let the listeners decide as well. Me, if I was at 2SM Sydney, I'd just run music overnight. I don't think you need the talkback overnight. I've said this to the guys at 2SM. I think their music that they used to take mid-dawns was phenomenal. And I'm talking like 20 years ago. It was just random back-to-back classic hits, but real classic hits that WSFM, was too old for them. So I'd be doing that if I was at the Super Network, just especially at 2SM. Don't be afraid to put some music shows. It is quite refreshing on a Sunday evening to listen to Dave Wright. He does the 60s at 6, the 70s at 7. That's actually really nice to hear on a Sydney station on a Sunday evening. Take some callers, do some shout outs, do that sort of stuff. He's a great talent, that guy. He's a great asset for that network. So I'm happy to see them using him. The problem is you've got the column A, column B to choose from. And you've got a station like, let's use TMFM, for example, that don't really play the classic hits format too much. So all of a sudden you've got a 60s show. But then you've got a station like 2MG Mudgee, and they do a 60s and 70s show of their own. So it work perfect with them, but it's not one size, or as we're saying, 2 sizes fits all for everyone. You need 4 sizes fits all, is what I'm saying.
And now I know that we've been chatting recently about 2SM going back into the ratings. Would you put them back into the ratings?
Oh, yeah. No ratings, no revenue. Even if you get 3%, great. Go get 3% of the Sydney revenue. Go out there and get there, because it's, yes, you're going to get a result you may not like. Yes, you're going to get haters, but you got haters anyway. A good mentor of mine always says, you step forward, you get judged. You walk backwards, you get judged. You step right, you get judged. Step left, you get judged. If you stand still, like 2SM, you still get judged. They get accused of having no listeners, but they're not even in the ratings. They're going off figures that were with an entirely different lineup way back when. None of those announcers are even on the station anymore these days. So you can't say 2SM is rating whatever. You just can't prove it. So get them back in the ratings. Let's prove it. And they do have a phenomenal lineup, especially in mornings, in breakfast, in afternoons. I think they're doing really well with that. There is just some opportunity in other elements of programming that I think that, for 2SM, but their key day parts is doing really good. I think does anyone know, if anyone hasn't heard, Tim Webster, hello? You've got Tim Webster on 2SM Breakfast. You've got Chris Smith on 2SM Mornings. Like, wow. 2 years ago, you'd be going, no, you don't. No, you don't. Not on that. Well, yes, you do. Does anyone know that? So I'd definitely go hard on some marketing, but don't go hard on marketing and don't go hard on joining the ratings period until the entire product has been looked at as a whole. So there are still some areas of improvement, in my opinion, late evenings and things like that, and weekends as well. There's definitely a lot more opportunity for 2SM to really elevate its brand even further. But I mean, the new owners, the kids that have taken over, phenomenal job in the time that they've been there. So let's see what happens next.
And last but not least, I want to chat about the digital content team for the Super Radio Network, and in particular, 2SM. What would you do? How big would you make the content team? And for example, would you have regular outside broadcasts or regular giveaways or promotions from Tim Webster, for example? Would you do that?
The digital content. You're talking about digital radio?
No, like social media content.
Oh, look, has anyone seen, I want everyone after this podcast, go on the 2SM, type in 2SM on Facebook, and you will fall off your chair just how popular that page is. It is phenomenal. Now, anyone would say, oh, they've got that many likes on Facebook. Imagine how many listeners they've got. They've got that many likes on a post. Imagine how many listeners they've got at mornings. It doesn't work that way. But I would definitely be using that as some sort of sales or marketing tool to get clients across. It could be that, look, hey, we're not part of the ratings yet, but have you seen our, the amount of reach we get on our social platforms? I'd be growing that. I wouldn't just be doing it on Facebook or Instagram. I'd definitely go harder on all elements. I saw the other day, and I want everyone to do, here's a bit of homework. Go and look at 2GB on YouTube. 2GB's YouTube channel is doing really well. It's phenomenal. A talkback AM station has got a YouTube channel that's doing really good. So I'd be setting up all those. If you're doing all that effort in all the video editing, all those posts, all that, I manage a lot of social media accounts. And one thing I always say is you never know where your golden nugget's coming from. It could come from LinkedIn. It could come from YouTube. It could come from Facebook. Don't just think I'm just going to post on Instagram and there's my job done for the year. So I definitely would be, first thing I would do if I was at digital at 2SM, or at the Super Network, is I would most definitely first thing give 2SM its own separate social platforms, because ARN doesn't promote ARN, it promotes KISS and Gold. So I'd have 2SM branded socials, and I would put all the network feed there, all the content there. If it comes from Chris Smith, that's a 2SM show. So that goes on the 2SM platform. If 2HT or anyone wants to share it, great. You can either repost it on yours or you just share the 2SM stuff, because it's the station brand that's going to help you when it comes to recall time in survey time. So no one's going to remember, were you listening to Super Radio Network? No, I was listening to 2SM 1269. Where do I tick that box? So that would help with brand repetition and recognition. So I'd definitely do that. Roll it out across the platforms, multiple platforms as well.
And would you change any sort of part of the lineup on 2SM, even weekends? I know we've talked about it in the past.
Oh, you and I have had so many conversations. This, it's always the funnest question. If you find a radio nut like Max Monday or Peter Samuels and you say, let's talk some radio. Here's the keys to Today FM. No, here's the keys to 2SM. No, here's the keys to Kiss 101.1. It's just those challenging stations that I love to have a bit of fun with. Look, 2SM, the same way that Kyle has gone and gotten everyone that's been made redundant from ARN, this is an opportunity for 2SM. And this is why I think the most a stellar recruit that they've gotten is Chris Smith. Yes, he's been through his problems in the past, but you have someone like him where his key P1s have gotten over that and they don't care. And they miss the old Chris Smith on their favorite 2GB. So he's now popped up on a new station. Tim Webster. We miss him on afternoons on 2UE. We miss him on the ABC. He's popped up at a new station. Now who else is there that has been kicked to the curb that you could put on your new station? Hello, George and Paul. Hello, Mike Jeffries. There's a lot of talent there. Lucy Zellick, she's perfect. She's sitting there in the curtains, dabbling with some talent at 2GB. This is where opportunities are made. If you can't get the Hamish and Andy, you get the B team, the Ryan Sheltons, which is what Nova did to try and compete with Hamish and Andy when they were at the powerhouse at the time. So who can you get that's hiding in the curtains at 2GB and bring them across to 2SM? That's what I'd be doing. You've dabbled with Mike, was it Mike James? I think.
Mike Williams, I think.
Mike, yeah. Pop him back overnights. You had Luke Boner filling in. You had Luke Boner filling in on 2SM. Bring him back. If it was me now, if someone said, right, what's the lineup at 2SM? Okay, I've got Tim Webster doing breakfast. Got Chris Smith doing mornings. I'd put Lucy Zellick in the afternoons. I'd put her at Drive. I'd put Luke Boner in the afternoons. And for evenings, I'd be looking at maybe sorry, did I say George? Apologies. What was the Two Murrays? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
The Two Murrays. Yes, they were kicked to the curb at 2GB last year.
Right.
So this year, bring them across and put the Two Murrays either weeknights or put them on weekends. I think you could definitely do a lot with that. Luke Boner and the Two Murrays, if you had one doing 6 till noon till 6 on a Saturday, Sunday, there you go. Jason Morrison as well. I know he just bought into a network, but Jason Morrison, he could pop up and do a Saturday morning news type show. This is the talent I would most definitely be opening my books at and seeing what they'd be looking to do. I'd be going hard with the talk format on 2SM as long as it is quality talk. I think the first thing I would do as a programmer at the Super Network is you can't have provincial announcers being broadcast into a metro market. By that I mean 2HD should be networking to the regionals, and 2SM should either stand alone or broadcast everywhere.
So you think that more power should be taken away from 2HD?
Well, I think just because the talent, let's call a spade, talent is usually from Sydney. Now, where do all these big broadcasters live? They've got homes in Sydney. If you want to bring the big draw cards, sure, you know what? If say, for example, the Two Murrays, one of them lives in Grafton, awesome. We have a station there, jump in there and you'll do it from the 2GF studios. That's fine. You can do that. You can use that, but it depends where they live. It doesn't mean that, we're just going to take that feed because that's where the feed comes from. It's not about where the feed comes from. It's about where's the good talent. So you've really got to put your talent hat on. And that could mean down the track, maybe you take away a bit from one to give to the other. So, put more resources into 2SM. They've got the facilities there. The studios there are amazing. That building there, there's room there. You can make it work.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to Cheryl and Darcy. I think she's doing an incredible job. And even that audio award really highlighted her passion.
Oh, yeah. First thing I do is give Cheryl and Darcy a Saturday both Saturday and Sunday morning gardening show. That's her passion. I know she can talk about it, and she's got that personality that you just want to wake up with, to easy talk. Nice and easy talk. A good alternative for a nighttime show is, like I said, with Dave Sutherland. I put him on Saturday and Sunday nights as a jukebox type show. He can still be local at breakfast on Cruise in Port Macquarie, but he really brings that energy. If you let him be his own, play his music. He did it for years with KOFM. He's worked on at some of those other networks as well. So he knows what he's doing. He knows music. He knows how to entertain. He can give that sort of hey, it's Saturday type variety show format. He brings that energy that the older market warm to. So I would be using him. And hey, that could mean that maybe Saturday, Sunday nights do come from Port Macquarie. Utilize the network, utilize the talent, broadcast around the network, but just make sure you focus on where the key talent is, and emphasis on key talent, not just filling a seat.
Definitely. And I totally agree with what you're saying there. I would love to see Jukebox Saturday nights like they did at 4KQ. Like we're on a different market, of course, but they had the music director doing a Saturday night show.
Yeah, because you're not going to get callers on a weekend. You won't. You just want people to just pop the radio on as background music, and for those that it caters for all markets. Because if you're relying on a talk format on a weekend night, it's going to be a challenge. Either fill it up with interviews and segments, or just play music. There's a reason why even stations like 2GB play music on a Christmas Day or an Easter Sunday or whatever it is, because they know themselves that it's a challenge to get callers at that time.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Peter. We had a great chat, and I think this is our longest episode yet, so I'm very happy about that.
Everyone go have yourself a beer after this.
Yeah, it'll be nighttime.
Yeah, true.
Well, make sure to check out radiomastery.com.au, and we'll catch you. What's the next survey? Survey 5?
Yeah, let's see. My prediction for that is we haven't seen the bottom of KISS 106.5 yet.
Absolutely. Well, you can check out Biz Audio wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure to check out some of the interviews that we have done. Petrina Jones came on the show last weekend, and we've also got some new guests coming up, so we'll catch you all up next.